We've got a trade in the NFL. Teddy Bridgewater is headed to the Broncos. Our Jonathan Jones has confirmed that Bridgewater goes to Denver in exchange for a 6th-round pick. Panthers' new regime started Bridgewater 15 games last season, but he went 4-11, and they didn't like him. They wanted to move on. That's why they got Sam Darnold now, and they at least get something in return for him. Reports are that the Panthers are going to pay most of Bridgewater's salary, but he's heading to Denver. The Broncos have Drew Lock. We were thinking maybe they'd go out and draft a quarterback. They have a top 10 pick. Does this mean that they're off the quarterback market? Well, let's bring in Pete Prisco, who about a week ago came on this program and said the Broncos are interested in trading for Teddy Bridgewater. Pete, you were right. What does it mean?
Well, I think it means a couple of things. First, I'll start with their incumbent quarterback, Drew Lock. It means that for now, they are believing in Drew Lock. And that's something that I've been hearing all along, that the staff and George Payton, the new general manager, and John Elway and group believe that Drew Lock deserves to have a chance to be the starting quarterback. And look, he threw 7 touchdown passes and 2 picks in his final 4 games. He got better, so why not take a look at him? If he somehow stumbles and struggles a bit, then you have a veteran in Teddy Bridgewater who could take over. And I think that's the rationale here. I think this is more about the belief in Drew Lock than it is the non-belief in Drew Lock, because if they really didn't think Drew Lock was the long-term answer, I think they'd strongly consider quarterback at number 9. Doesn't mean they're out of it, taking a quarterback, but I think for now, it looks like they believe Drew Lock could be their guy.
What do you think of the compensation that Carolina got in return?
Look, I'm not surprised. I didn't think they get much more than this, and there's also going to be, split in the contract, which means Carolina has to come off the hip a little bit for half the guaranteed money. For Teddy, it gives him an opportunity to avoid the final year of his deal, which will make him a free agent next year. Now, whether that's a good thing, who knows? It depends on if he plays or not. So I think it makes sense from both teams' standpoint. You get a pick for a guy you really didn't want on your roster anyways.
In Ryan Wilson's latest 3-round mock, he had the Broncos taking Justin Fields. So based on what has happened with the trade of Teddy Bridgewater, you said that you think this means that they have confidence in Drew Lock. If a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance or a Mac Jones is there, you think that they say no thanks and go somewhere else?
Yeah, I do. I think they're going to probably try and use that pick at number 8 to try and lure somebody up to take a quarterback. I mean, they gave up assets for Sam Darnold. They clearly believed that where they were picking, they weren't going to have an opportunity to get one of the 2 guys that they really wanted, so they decided to go get Sam Darnold. And in this scenario, I think if you're sitting at 8 and a team is sitting there that says, hey, Justin Fields is still on the board or Trey Lance is still on the board, then I'm going to go make a move to go get him, I think that's a strong possibility. So Carolina could add some extra picks and trade down and still get a good football player. I've speculated on this. I haven't been told this at all, but keep an eye on Washington. They need a quarterback. Maybe they go all the way up if one of those guys is there that they really have an interest in.
Pete, I know you think that this by virtue of this trade that the Broncos are telling us that they still believe in Drew Lock. Do you still believe in Drew Lock? I know you were high on him coming out.
Yeah, I do. I think he deserves another shot and to show that he can be their guy. Again, really had some injuries around him last year. The receiving group got depleted at times. It wasn't a great situation for him. He did show some flash late in the season, like I said, and I think he deserves a chance to go in there and show people that he could be the guy. If he's not, then Denver's going to go back into the draft and draft one next year. But here's the thing. If you're the Broncos and one of those quarterbacks is sitting there at 9, you might be able to get some team to jump up and give you some draft picks as well. So I think they're in a good situation. I think that's why they went out and got Teddy Bridgewater.
Okay, so if Drew Lock's the starter in Denver going into the season, Sam Darnold the starter in Carolina going into the season, which quarterback do you have more faith in?
Boy, that's a good question. Again, it all comes down to who's gotten the most around them. I think Denver's in a great situation with what they have around Drew Lock. They're going to run the ball a little bit with Melvin Gordon. I think when you look at the outside receivers, if those guys are all healthy, that's a good group. You're getting Sutton back. That's a really good situation. Jerry Judy's going to be a year better. Noah Fant's going to be a year better. I'd probably lean to Drew Lock. I think it's a better situation. But I think both can have success. I don't think either one of them is ever going to be among the elite of the elites. But I think both of them are good enough to win a lot of football games if you get the right situation around them.
All right, Teddy Bridgewater traded from Carolina to Denver in exchange for a 6th-round pick, and Carolina is going to be taking on more of Bridgewater's salary, but Pete Prisco believes he's going to go there as a backup to Drew Lock, who gets a stamp of approval from Denver in this trade. These two teams have back-to-back picks, 8 and 9 in the draft. Carolina at 8. Denver at 9. Pete Prisco, thank you so much for the time here on HQ. Once again, the Panthers getting a 6th-round pick, which ends up being 191 overall. Panthers will pick 8th. Broncos will pick 9th in the top 10.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.